Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Discover How ASME Certification Can Help You Enter New Markets. My name is Jared Shelley, and I'm Demand Generation and Content Marketing Manager at Tooth Sood Global Risk Consultants. ASME certification builds trust in your company and helps you more easily enter international markets. With the certification, you can drive quality improvements, reduce miscommunications, and shorten time to market. This webinar will be a step-by-step guide to ASME certifications, from preparation to assessments to reviews to facility tours to getting certified. We will also explain important do's and don'ts and keys to success. If you have a question during the webinars, please put it in the question box or chat on your screen. We want this presentation to be interactive, so please don't hesitate. Now I will introduce our speakers. Chris Mahler. Chris Mahler is Director of Engagement and Outreach Conformity Assessments at ASME, and Ciro Manzari is Account Manager at Arise Boiler Inspection and Insurance Company. Both have years of experience and incredible knowledge in the field, and we're really grateful to have them spending some time with us today. So with that, I'll hand it over to Ciro. Ciro?
All right. Thanks, Jared. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on what we hope to be the first of many informational webinars hosted by Arise. My name is Ciro Manzari, and I've been with Arise since July 2000, and I've been involved in the industry of boiler and pressure vessel inspection since April 1977. And I've been involved in the ASME inspections consisting of nuclear, which are ASME Section 3 and Section 11, and non-nuclear pressure vessels and components, which comprises of Sections 1, Sections 4, and Section 8 of the ASME. And I've been performing these type of inspections since around 1981. Arise was founded in 1998. It's accredited by the American Society of Mechanical Engineers, the ASME, and the National Board of Boiler and Pressure Vessel Inspectors to perform third-party inspections of boilers, pressure vessels, and components. Originally founded under the precept of performing unbundled jurisdictional in-service inspections, which is the accreditation of NB 369. And as our business exploded under this new concept of unbundled jurisdictional in-service inspections, so did our capability of bringing on board and training inspectors who performed ASME inspections in accordance with the accreditation you're seeing on the screen, NB 360. And with the help of our friends over at the ASME, that's what we're going to discuss today in this webinar, how the ASME can benefit your business. Arise is licensed to operate in all 50 states, and through contract affiliates in Canada, South America, and Puerto Rico, we have qualified inspectors who are positioned in strategic areas to serve this global market. Arise provides inspectors who have specialized knowledge in industries ranging from energy, utilities, refining, and manufacturing to government, healthcare, pharmaceuticals, education, and more. If you're here to learn more about how your company can start to fabricate boilers and or pressure vessels to the ASME and obtain your ASME accreditation, you're at the right webinar. But before we hear from Chris, Arise, as an accredited authorized inspection agency, we will provide authorized inspectors and authorized inspector supervisors to assist your company in its preparation of its quality control manual and to assure the quality control program meets the requirements of the ASME Boiler and Pressure Vessel Code and the National Board Inspection Code. Basically, we're going to assist you throughout the majority of the process. And I say the majority of the process because we will help you put together your QC manual, your QC program. We'll even provide you with the ASME link and ASME application. But once you submit your application to the ASME, well, that's where Chris is here to help you understand that portion of the certification process. I've always said the information we will provide you in our initial discussions, which is a plethora of information, a roadmap of sorts from start to finish. If anyone suffers from insomnia, sleep disorder, or whatever, trust me, this information is going to help. Now I'm going to turn this over to Chris, but I'll be here to chime in a little bit more into the presentation.
Thank you, Ciro. Appreciate it. So with that, let me begin. My name again is Chris Mahler. I'm the Director of Engagement and Outreach for ASME in their Conformity Assessment Department. I've been in this department for about 10 years, working with organizations, moving them through the process of certification from the application phase all the way to when the certification actually gets submitted. But one of the first questions a lot of people who are new to the process ask is, what is certification? And certification really is, or what is conformity assessment? And conformity assessment enables buyers, sellers, consumers, and regulators to have confidence that a product sourced in a global market meets specific requirements. It meets the demonstration that specifies requirements related to products, processes, systems, and they've been fulfilled correctly. 3 ways companies demonstrate conformity assessment are through the certification process. It's a provision by an independent body of a written assurance that a product, service, or system meets those requirements that have been specified. Also through inspection. This is regularly checking of a product to make sure that it meets the specific criteria that's been set forth in the scope statement. And finally, testing, which is a consistent process that is used to determine if one or more of the objects or products characteristics meet that specific requirement. Today's conversation focuses on certification, but both inspection and testing are part of that certification process. There are benefits to certification in different areas. Certification serves the needs of multiple areas across the supply chain. When you're dealing with the government, it supports policies, regulations, etc. on public safety and fair trade. For manufacturers, it helps companies of all sizes gain access to new markets and compete on a level playing field. When dealing with the public, it protects the welfare of the public. And for purchasers, it allows companies to have a greater control over their supply chain, along with the quality of their products, as well as the cost. So why should a company get certified or go through that process? It is a lengthy process, but it is one that is well worth it. ASME's conformity assessment certification programs offer a lot of different benefits. The ASME certification mark is recognized around the world. We have certified companies in 77 different countries. The mark helps build trust and confidence in your company and its offerings. Manufacturers of different sizes can compete for business at the same level playing field, which is very important. The certification process helps companies rethink their current procedures and develop new ones that can lead to significant efficiencies across time and cost, including improvements in quality and customer satisfaction, which is very important. The more the customer comes back, the more money a company will make. Reduction in the number of miscommunications, mistakes, returns, and wastes. Process enhancement that speed up production and shorten time to market. All these bring together a higher return on investment for the manufacturer. One thing that we have worked closely with our marketing department is ASME does have marketing support for the certification holders. As an ASME certificate holder, you have access to promotional tools that can help you generate new business, and these include the ASME single certification mark. It shows that you've gone through a rigorous process to obtain it. The ASME online directory of certificate holders. If you are not listed on the ASME website as a certificate holder, you are not recognized as an ASME certificate holder. Digital banner graphics you can use on your site as well as others. Brochures and flyers you can use to educate your customers on the importance of certification and investing in certified products. Videos on conformity assessment for your site. One thing that's very important is ASME approved messaging you can use across your communication. Again, we've worked very closely with our marketing department. This really does help enhance the message that you're trying to get across to your customers, that certification and going through that process gives a whole different element to the product that you're selling. And of course, a digital version of the ASME certification mark, which you can place on your site, your marketing material, literature, whatever you need to get the message out that you've gone through this process. So just very, very, very briefly about ASME and the certification and conformity assessment area. The ASME brand is universally recognized as an indicator of high quality. This recognition helps customers gain access to new markets and compete on a global marketplace. Presently, we have 2 accreditation programs for pressure relief devices and authorized inspection agencies. We have 3 quality management program certifications, 2 personnel certifications, that's where the individual goes through the process for geometric dimensioning and tolerancing, as well as QRO, 4 product certification programs, and again, as I mentioned earlier, we have certification holders in 77 different countries. Our standard portfolio contains 566 different standards, and all those are developed and worked through by 5,500 volunteers worldwide, with a quarter of them coming from the international marketplace. I mentioned personal certification. We have between 22 and 2,400 personnel certification holders. We have 6,900 plus certified companies globally, and that represents 11,500 certificates that are active in the global market today. ASME's certification and conformity assessment programs are based on its standards. Those standards, again, are developed by a well-defined consensus-driven process that is accredited by ANSI, the American National Standards Institute. Safety and quality are ASME's core focus. If it is not safety related, we probably won't look at it. We are a safety-driven organization. Participation in our standards committee is open to all. Balance is maintained among all competing interests. The standard development process is transparent and open to all. Decisions are reached through consensus among all those that are affected, and as the technology evolves, our codes and standards advance with them. ASME certification programs are seen as a gold standard, and companies that are certified and have their products, services, or systems put together through the ASME certification process tend to have a robust quality assurance program in place. They can also demonstrate the quality and reliability of their products. By going through this process, they're able to meet some of the toughest international regulatory requirements. It instills confidence that the offerings meet ASME's stringent requirements. They're also able to bid and compete on companies of any size all around the world. Having ASME certification removes barriers to trade. And it incorporates a proven process based upon independent third-party assessment, and it provides consistent products and services no matter where they're manufactured. So it is a redundant process that has been proven, and once that's put together, you know what you're getting every time. The ASME certification mark indicates that a manufacturer has followed all aspects of ASME's codes and standards and meets the rigorous requirements of ASME certification program. The certification mark covers nuclear and non-nuclear products and services which fall under the following categories. And this, what Ciro said about a lot of information, this is probably where you're going to get it for insomnia. To begin with, we're going to talk about boilers. We have 7 different designators for boilers, 7 for power boilers. Those fall under Section 1 of the Boiler Pressure Vessel Code, and we have 4 heating boiler certification programs that fall under Section 4 of Boiler Pressure Vessel Code. When we deal with the pressure vessels, there are 12 programs for pressure vessels. 5 pressure vessel programs fall under Section 8, Division 1 of the Boiler Pressure Vessel Code. 2 fall under Section 8, Division 2 of the Boiler Pressure Vessel Code, and 3 designators fall under Section 8, Division 3 of the Boiler Pressure Vessel Code, alternate rules for construction of high-pressure vessels. We also have a program for reinforced plastic vessels. And under that, we have two programs, and those fall under Section 10 of the Boiler Pressure Vessel Code. We have transport tanks, which there are 4 programs for transport tanks, which fall under Section 12 of the Boiler Pressure Vessel Code. And we have 8 programs under pressure vessel relief devices, and this falls under Section 13, which is the newest section of the Boiler Pressure Vessel Code that was released in 2021. And finally, we have bioprocessing equipment, which has 1 program presently for tubings and fittings for hygienic manufacturing. And then finally, we have a complete suite of programs for the nuclear components. Now, if you look at all these, everything besides the bioprocessing fall under the Boiler Pressure Vessel Code. ASME's nuclear programs consist of 6 different types of N stamps, and we also have what's called OWN. It's an owner's certificate. N-type certificate of authorization issued by ASME signifies that a certificate holder has been through a rigorous survey to verify the adequacy and effective implementation of the quality assurance program. The nuclear certification or certificate of authorization allows certificate holders to certify and stamp newly constructed components, parts, apparatuses used in nuclear facilities with the certification mark in accordance with Section 3 of the Boiler Pressure Vessel Code. When dealing with nuclear under Section 3 of the Boiler Pressure Vessel Code, we have 7 different programs. We have the N designator, and that covers your vessels, pumps, valves, piping systems, storage, core supports, and concrete containers. N3 is for transportation containments and storage containments. NA is for field installation and shop assembly. NPT is for parts, welded tubular products, and piping subassemblies. We have NS, which is for nuclear supports. NV, which is for pressure release valves. And finally, as I mentioned, we have OWN, which is for nuclear power plant owners. In addition to the nuclear product certifications, we also have a nuclear program certification. These do not have the ASME stamp. These are programs. We're certifying a program, not a product in this case. In the place of the mark, companies receive a quality system certificate. One of the programs that we have is NQA1, and it seeks to meet the needs of the nuclear industry by expanding the supply chain with the organization who is committed to understanding quality and providing high-quality products and services. NQA1 is for organizations who are supplying products to the nuclear industry outside of the pressure boundary but are safety related. We also have QSC, or the Nuclear Quality System Certification Program, and that provides certification for companies that are providing materials and services to the nuclear industry. So if you're supplying rebar, cement, structural items, you would fall under the QSC, and that is created in accordance with Section 3 of NCA 38 and 3900. We also have a brand new program. This came out in May of 2021. It's called QPS. It's Quality Program for Suppliers for General Industry. It is the newest product of the program. It was developed to enhance quality of items supplied to general industry. The QPS standard and certification process establishes the essential requirements for quality programs to manufacture products used within general commercial and industry sectors. It is for any company, regardless of the size or the type of organization. These can include organizations that are supplying Oh, I don't know what happened there. That are supplying raw material manufacturers, organizations that are doing work with or without design responsibilities, and also your service providers. So those are organizations dealing with like your tool and die shops, your machining shops, companies doing non-destructive examination. One thing that I really need to really stress is ASME is really committed to safeguarding impartiality in all their programs and in their standards process. First of all, ASME is a not-for-profit organization, and as I mentioned earlier, its sole focus is safety. Again, all our standards are safety-driven in some way, shape, or form. Conflict of interest, code of ethics, and confidentiality are defined in written documents and binding to all in process. When you join a committee, you go through a verification process that you are going to abide by these rules because it's for industry and by industry. ASME has a strict policy on confidentiality. Our department has an extremely strict one. What happens between ASME and a customer stays between ASME and the customer. We are forbidden by regulation and by our own internal documentation to give out information about any company, no matter what happens through the certification process, whether they pass or fail. That's why we put those that pass on the website and we leave it at that. Appeals and due process procedures are in place to resolve conflicts. We conduct document reviews, surveys, investigations, and interviews to make sure that the process is running smoothly and fairly to all that are invested in the process. There are strict procedures and qualifying and certifying auditors. Our auditors are reviewed every other year, but at the end of each audit, a survey goes out to make sure that the auditors are doing what the auditors are supposed to and instructed to do. And the evaluation function is separate from accreditation and certification. Functions through the formation of a balanced set of conformity assessment committees. So very, very briefly, the auditors that come to a facility are just auditing the facility. They are just collecting information based on objective evidence. The determination of certification goes to another group that reviews the documentation, so there is no conflict of interest and no bias. So if you look at the certification process, really the certification process within ASME, it is a three-phase process. When you begin, phase one is the preparation phase, and that's really where the company is going to take a look at their system, determine what they're doing, collect information, and start to understand who, what, how, when this whole process is going to take place. The next phase is the application phase, and that's where a company will go and put all the documentation together and submit it to ASME. Step three is when ASME and whoever is involved in the audit process will come to the site and actually review the customer's program. And then finally, the end is the certification phase. And the certification phase usually takes place about 4 to 7 weeks after the audit is completed, because the documentation will flow through and the company will be notified exactly what happens and what they can expect. And with this, I'm going to pass this over to Ciro for the next couple of slides, and he's going to explain where the authorized inspection agencies begin, where they end, and where ASME picks up again. So, Ciro, I'll pass this over to you.
Oh, thanks, Chris. Sorry. Phase one, as Chris mentioned earlier, there's 4 steps, 4 phases to go through. Phase one is the preparation. In preparation for obtaining your ASME certification, make sure you enter into an authorized inspection agency agreement. And I tell a lot of potential clients, This is not a sales pitch. You've got to have that application. You've got to have a contract. You have to have a contract with an authorized inspection agency that you submit along with your ASME application. So that's a given. You have to review all the information related to the certification process in order to achieve a thorough understanding of the program. This includes your application forms, your checklists, and associated fees. Again, Arise as your authorized inspection agency, we can help you out there. We're going to hold your hand through the entire process up until you submit your application to the ASME. Decide on your ASME certified scope of work. Once again, your AIA, Arise, can help you out there. If you want to build boilers, we're going to tell you what sections you should be looking at. If you want to build pressure vessels, what section, Section 8, Division 1 or 2 or 3, we're going to help you decide. Obtain any required standards. Start preparing the manual, a written description of your quality program. We have a template that the authorized inspector, supervisor, authorized inspector will provide you. This template will have the latest, greatest information on the codes. So you don't want to go with a, you might have come from another organization that had a QC manual, but that QC manual might be 3, 6, 9 years old. It's out of date. The Arise Authorized Inspection Agency, we will have an up-to-date meeting the requirements of the latest, greatest ASME code. So, and select and train personnel to implement your quality program. Authorized inspection agencies. What is an authorized inspection agency? An authorized inspection agency is an inspection organization commissioned through the National Board. If you recall earlier in the slide presentations, we showed you the Arise accreditation certificates, NB360 and NB369. AIAs provide third-party, I like to say independent third-party inspection services for the installation, inspection, repair, and alteration of new and in-service pressure equipment. AIAs can include jurisdictional authorities. Jurisdictional authorities, not many states are doing that, and it's purely because of manpower issues. North Carolina still has a small department of inspectors who perform ASME inspections, but for the most part, they've deferred this to inspection agencies such as Arise. Insurance companies. Arise is an insurance company. And in independent third-party inspection organizations. A full listing of ASME accredited AIAs can be found on the asme.org website under certification and accreditation tabs. What roles do AIAs and ASME play across the certification process? You remember me saying in my introduction that Arise will assist your company in its preparation of its quality control manual and to assure the quality control program meets the requirements of the ASME Boil and Pressure Vessel Code and the National Board Inspection Code. Depending on how much your organization knows about quality control programs, we will assist you putting together your quality control manual. And yes, as I mentioned in the previous slide, we will provide a template, an outline QC manual hitting all the code requirements, but the main nuts and bolts of your specific quality program will have to be your input. This is important. Your ASME QC manual and program is your ASME QC manual and program. Arise as your AIA of record will help you throughout, as I mentioned a number of times, we will help you throughout the ASME application process. At the end of the certification process, on that second bullet, an AIA will inspect and evaluate your quality control system and its implementation. A good AIA, as Arise, we will perform a pre-joint review, and we try to time it as close to the date that you have your scheduled ASME audit joint review, preferably about a week ahead of time, maybe 1 to 2 weeks out. And it's imperative that the authorized inspector, supervisor, and the authorized inspector see that your program is ready for the audit. It would save you guys a lot of money if by chance that the ASME auditor came in and you guys would fail the audit. This is a direct reflection on the AIA and the authorized inspector supervisor. So we're going to make sure that you guys are fully prepared. The ASME will then review the final report and make a determination on whether or not to grant certification. And you can see there on the bottom there the chart, the 4 phases that Chris mentioned a few slides back. Describe your quality control system. When preparing the written description for your quality program, don't change your system to fit the requirements of the manual. Again, I'll repeat myself. You don't want to use somebody else's manual. Stick with the program, the manual that the authorized inspector supervisor provided you. Don't use someone else's manual, such as a competitor. No, you don't want to do that. Don't use a generic manual from consultant or broker. Develop a manual that describes your system. It is your system. You know and understand how your company works. Just as an FYI, we get this question that maybe they have an ISO program in-house. ISO programs cannot be combined with an ASME QC manual program. And as a public service announcement, let me say, when deciding on an authorized inspection agency, consider where the AI servicing your facility will be traveling from. As for the most part, travel charges for an AIA contracts and rate schedule are portal to portal. So as much as I would like for all of you to sign on with Arise, we may not have an authorized inspector close enough to your facility to service you economically, and we'll let you know that ahead of time. And one more final thing, the ASME mark does not go on until after the AIA reviews and accepts that all ASME requirements have been met. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Chris.
Thank you, Ciro. Appreciate it. And again, just to reiterate, the AIA is the eyes and ears for ASME. They really are. I am not here to promote one over the other, but it is very important to have a very good working relationship with your AIA to successfully go through this process. And as Ciro had mentioned, he's correct. When I go to the next slide, we have an application that needs to be filled out. Part of that application, you're going to have to present a signed contract with an authorized inspection agency for, I believe, about 90% of our programs. Anything associated with the boiler pressure vessel code is going to need that contract. So again, organizations that are looking to do certification are required to go and fill out the proper application forms and submit any fees prior to us being able to schedule a review of your site. We do that through a system called CA Connect. CA Connect is our online portal system that is going to accept your application. It is going to accept the different forms that we're going to need. It is also where you're going to upload the information on who you bought your code books from, as well as who your AIA is, and any other pertinent information. There are several different supplemental forms based on your program that will need to be filled out also and uploaded. Your A form for nuclear applications, C for your QSC applications. Again, that was the nuclear program. That is a program, not a product, for organizations supplying material. And finally, what we do need, and is very important, is the survey team size questionnaire. This tells us how many people we need to send to your site, how long they're going to be there, what they're going to do. And this is how we're able to gauge what the cost of this program is specifically going to be for a specific organization. It also tells us where they're going. This is very important because what we try to do is we want to get 5, 6, 7 audits in one area at once during one segment of time. Excuse me. What we don't want to do is be sending one audit team to one location for one audit. It becomes very expensive for the customer. What this does is this allows us to split the cost of expenses amongst multiple organizations instead of just one. The assessment is where ASME is actually going to come in and check how good your quality manual and your implementation of your quality program is. The assessment is going to take place at the location performing activities. This is what's been determined on your application. One thing I will tell you right now is that we are only going to go to the location that is listed on the application. If you have another location down the street and it's not listed, we cannot go and investigate it. We are only going to go do the scope of work what you have laid out. That's why it's very important for you to work with your AIA to make the determination of what you need and where you need to go before you even begin, so that you're not wasting a lot of money for someone to show up to have to pull off site and then have to rework the process. The assessment process is a five-phase process. It begins with the manual review. You have an entrance meeting and a facility tour. This is going who we are, who you are, and where we're going to be looking. The implementation phase, there is a closed meeting that takes place between all the audit teams, and then finally the exit meeting where everyone gets together and discuss the findings that they have seen on the review. The manual review process is the first step. This is where the audit team is going to be off-site for about a day. They're going to be reviewing the manual, the application, and the checklist. It's very important to make sure that you upload the checklist, because the checklist is a roadmap of your program. It tells us where it is, who, what, where, and when, and it guides them through the manual so they're not spending 3 days doing and looking up information. And within your manual, and again, Ciro and Arise would help you with this, there are 5 different questions that the manual needs to answer. You know, what are you doing? Who are the individuals that are involved in this, and where are they within the organization? What do they do? What's their work? Who are they, and how are they tied into this program? The one aspect is when are you doing? When is the required work going to be performed? Where, again, is very simple. It's where are we going? Where is this located? And again, that is going to be determined what you put on your application. And then finally, the how aspect of, you know, how are you achieving your quality? Are you doing how are your drawings? How are the procedures? What are the work instructions, the forms, the travelers, and the tags? So if you look at this graph, it's going to show you what's in the quality manual as far as how much is really going to be in there. Your what is going to be your overwhelming, what is the process, what is the program. Then it's going to follow who, what, when, where, and then finally how. When beginning the entrance meeting, this is very important. This is the process where the audit team is going to meet with those that are responsible for the program. They're also going to be able to establish the rules of what we're doing. They're going to explain everything to the organization. This is what we're looking for. This is what we're going to do. This is the time frames. These are the people that we want to talk to. This is how we're going to make this run as efficiently as possible. They'll also bring a very brief facility tour. This will help the audit team know where they're going, understand where they're going, and get to that location without fumbling around a 2 million square foot facility. One thing that is important is to get your executive management involved at the very beginning of this. Have them come to the meetings. Have them understand the process, because this is a big process for everybody and they will be impacted. Next, there'll be an implementation phase where you'll be demonstrating your program. One thing that happens during this is if there is a problem, if the auditors see that there's a deficiency during the review, they immediately identify it. They will go and talk to somebody who's responsible within the organization and say, this is what we found. and then give the organization time to take corrective actions prior to the conclusion of the review. What we don't want to do, and sometimes it happens, is pull off site and then have to come back 30 days later. It is very expensive for ASME, and it's more expensive for the organization. So what we want to do is close those deficiencies as much as possible before that audit team leaves so they can sign off on them. There are some do's, but there are probably more don'ts to do during the implementation phase. And the most important thing is don't get off topic. It happens a lot. People suddenly are offering all this different information. It confuses the situation to the point where the auditors have to take a giant step back and reevaluate, okay, what's he telling me and why is he telling me this? Your answers are very important. Don't think it doesn't count, because it really does. One thing that's important too is don't dodge questions. Just answer them directly and as honestly as you can. Don't hide information, because it is an audit and it will be turned up during the audit process. And that goes down to too. Don't misinform the team. You know, they're going to figure it out. Our auditors have an average. They have an average of 27 years experience doing this. They know what they're doing at that point. So that leads us to the next. Really, don't debate the team. They're not there to fight you. They're there to help you. They're there to help you make a better system. And really, you know, it doesn't pay to get upset over the findings. We do understand this is an extremely stressful time for an organization. Getting upset over the findings doesn't help. And what it does is it delays the process in taking corrective actions. And most importantly, and I've seen this several times, is people don't understand. They can say, I don't know. I don't know is a perfectly acceptable answer for the audit team. So we have the don'ts, so here are the do's. It's, you know, very important that you maintain your composure. Again, like I had mentioned, this is a very stressful time for an organization. They have a lot of time and money invested in making this successful, and tempers can become short. One thing is, let the team members finish their questions, because like anything else, sometimes what you anticipate them asking is really not what they're asking, and it may lead to you giving them the wrong answer. So really, just think about the question, take your time answering it. There is no rush. We are not putting companies on a stopwatch saying all questions must be answered within 15 minutes. As long as it takes to get the correct answer is what we do. And if you don't understand, you don't understand. Ask them to clarify. Ask them to chart it out. Put it on a whiteboard. It is very important for us as ASME, as well as your authorized inspection agency, as well as the company, that we are all on the same page during this process. So if you don't know an answer, and there's an awful lot of, you know, I don't know the answers, but the simplest thing is, if you don't know the answer, just tell the auditors you don't know. Can you find somebody else? Can I ask somebody else? Can you clarify it? Or can I get back to you later? Again, we're not looking for speed. We're looking for accuracy and correctness. Finally, after we go through the whole process, there is a closed meeting for the audit team. At this point, the audit team gets together. They're reviewing all the documentation that they've assembled. They're reviewing the objective evidence that they've taken from the review. And they're looking at it together and putting it together. They're talking about what's good, things that they saw were bad, any deficiencies. They're double checking to make sure that what they're seeing is correct. It follows the policies and procedures. And at that point, once they get done, they vote on a recommendation that they're going to present to ASME. Now, again, I want to reiterate this because I don't want people to misunderstand. The audit team is not making the decision. This decision is based on another group that is only reviewing the information based on the objective evidence that has presented to them.
Chris, may I interject one thing on there?
Absolutely.
Another important note, and I apologize for not bringing this up, but you're talking about the audit team. Another important note is that up until the ASME comes in to perform the joint review of the audit, ARISE is assisting and guiding the potential stamp holder along with the entire QC process. At the time of the joint review of the audit, the ARISE authorized inspector supervisor and the authorized inspector are now part of the joint review audit team, and we cannot answer any questions on behalf.
That's a great point, Ciro, and it you know, and that is why your audit team will work independently, so there is no there is no bias or conflict of interest. But this is also why your authorized inspection agency is walking you through a pre-audit before ASME gets there, so that you understand what your system is, what your system's supposed to do, how it's working. You mitigate any problems before we get there. Again, our goal is to make sure that this goes as seamlessly and as painlessly as humanly possible. So that's why we have a ramp-up phase until the ASME audit review team actually comes to your facility. Now, finally, what there is there's an exit meeting. The exit meeting is really for everybody who in your organization. We really don't care. At that time, the review team is going to tell you what they found at your site, what they saw good, what wasn't maybe so good, what you might be able to look at to help improve your system. They'll ask you questions, but this gives you an opportunity to come back and ask them questions, about your system, about, how you can do things different, better. I mean, they can't give consulting information because they're not going to, but it is a time for you to express any ideas or thoughts that you may have to the audit team before they leave site. And at the end of it, they say goodbye, thank you very much, and the audit is officially completed. The certification phase takes about 4 to 6 weeks at the conclusion of the audit. That's when you'll get your official notification that you have successfully completed your certification process. The review team, the lead auditor on the review, will go back to wherever he is, his hotel, and he is going to write up a large report and submit that report to ASME. ASME then will do the report. It will go through its different channels of committees that need to look at it. And then a vote will be taken. And then once that is taken, the organization will determine whether you have effectively demonstrated the implementation of your quality program or not, make sure that all your deficiencies are closed out, and then you'll be notified of the organization's decision. I'll be honest with you, though, by the exit meeting, you'll have a pretty good idea of how you stand in this process. The auditors are going to make sure that you are fully aware of where you are and what may or may not take place. Most ASME certificates are valid for 3 years, and that the exception is BPE, which is a 5-year program, and the H&UM stamp, which are 1-year processes. And based on your program, after the 3-year process, usually about 6 to 8 months before it expires, you're notified, and this gives you a chance to renew. Once you renew, the process begins again, brand new. And really, it's that simple as far as the renewal process. You're notified. You'll fill out the application again. You'll submit the renewal application to ASME through CA Connect. That will come into our portal, and we'll begin the scheduling of the audit process once again. So really, the keys to success, and again, success is the name of the game for this, is at the very beginning of this process, make sure that you have the commitment from your management. I have seen a few cases where people have started the process without gaining the vested interest of their executive management, And it becomes very well. The wheels came off of it because the executive management said, "Well, let's rethink this." So get them at the very beginning. It's very important too that get all departments involved. What you're trying to do is change a regular culture to a culture of quality. Another thing that's very key to the success of this program is training. You must train your people consistently on quality of culture, a culture of quality, quality programming, what their job responsibilities are. And another thing in your quality manual, say what you mean and mean what you say. If this is what you do, this is what you do. Um, as Ciro had mentioned, implement the system prior to the joint review. They'll walk you through it. They'll put together a pre-audit. You'll go through it. It will save you time, money, and a lot of heartache. And also follow your system. You've put it together. You understand your system. Follow it. And really, that's, well, in 50 minutes and 55 seconds, that's what I have for a very brief tutorial on how to or what to expect from a conformity assessment ASME program.
Thank you so
I'm gonna
much, Chris. I really appreciate that. I'm sure the audience does as well. We have time for maybe just a couple of quick questions if you guys are up for it. Let me get to some audience questions right here, and then I'll share them with you. So here's a very practical question: how much does it cost to apply for a U certification?
Okay, that is a very good question. It's a very difficult question. The prices are on the ASME website. It depends a lot on your program and what you're doing. Nuclear programs are going to be much more expensive than the non-nuclear programs because of the speciality that you need of getting the people in there to take a look at this. The cost is on the website, so it's cost plus the expenses to getting to that location. I know it is very vague an answer, because I'm sure someone's saying, "Well, okay, well, how much?" It's really hard for us to tell. That's why we ask you to fill in the application. The application will tell us what it's going to cost you. And once you finish on CA Connect of putting all that information together, there's a performa invoice that can be downloaded. So that will give you an idea. This is what you're looking at.
Yeah,
Great.
in addition to that, Chris, yeah, the ASME has specific fees for what Chris just said, the stamp. The unknown factor is the amount of authorized inspection agency involvement. Uh, if the potential stamp holder requires the authorized inspection agency to be 100% involved in putting together their program, yes, because the authorized inspection agency has a rate schedule. So, and I tell potential stamp holders, depending on how much hand-holding you need, that's the unknown factor, cost factor involved. And like Chris says, depending on you're going nuclear or non-nuclear, there are set fees for that. But that's something that we are always discussing with potential stamp holders. And like I said, it's the unknown fees from the authorized inspection agency on how much involvement you want us from start to finish.
Yeah, and that just goes back very, very quickly. Our fees are listed on the asme.org website of the program. The unknown factors are how prepared are you? Are you prepared for this? The more prepared you are for an audit, the more the quicker they go, and that really does impact the cost, as well as how many audits. We try to get as many audits in one location during the same time, so that any expense costs can be transferred over multiple organizations, so one company is not getting hit with airfare, hotels, and the rest of it.
That's great, Chris. Thank you so much. It looks like we have time for maybe one more question. We're looking to get our certification, but we're going to be moving to a new location in 6 months. If we were to receive our certification now? Would we need to go through another joint review at the new location when we move?
Ciro, did you want to answer that?
No, I was hoping you would. I think
The answer it depends on the program, but the answer most likely will be yes, because you're moving to a whole new location. So we are certifying one program under one location. If you pick up and move that location 6 months from now, we have to start the process at the new location, because we don't, things can change between location and location. It's very important that we maintain the integrity of the ASME program and stamped globally, and that's why we do not just let people move these stamps around. We need to know where they are, and we need to know that that facility has been certified to meet the criteria that's been set up in the standard for that particular program.
Great. Well, thanks, guys. Really appreciate your time and insight on this. I know our audience feels the same way. So, again, just really great presentation, and thank you to everybody. And I think this is it. We're going to sign off, and we say thank you so much for being with us today and sharing a little time on Monday. So, just want to say thanks again to Chris and Ciro, and thank you to ASME for their time. So we're going to sign off now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. We appreciate your attention. And
Thanks,
please,
guys.
if you have questions, reach out to any of us. We'll be more than happy to answer them offline.
Happy holidays to everyone.